Okay, so here we are with Civilization II, the PC game review, and yeah, probably a game that you all enjoyed back in the day. It was a classic, right? Well, I've been meaning to do a bad game review for a long time, but this isn't a bad game for me. It's an unenjoyable game. If you enjoyed it the first time round, there's probably no point in you listening to someone who completely disagrees with you, but that's pretty much what I'm going to do here. And the reason why it's not a bad game is because it had a lot of stuff going for it. Just take this customizable stuff to begin with. I love games where you can customize things right down to from how many players you have to what rules you play by. All that stuff's great. That's why it's not a bad game. You know, I'll get my positives out of the way first. This was a game that set up a great system for later games, but for me it was unenjoyable because the gameplay in this game was, in my opinion, terrible. It was very difficult and very unenjoyable because of the way the AI worked, and I'll get onto that in a bit. Firstly, I'll talk about what the game is about. It's about you taking a civilization from as varied as, say, the Celts to the Aztecs to the Americans, Germans to the Mayan, you name it, it's pretty much in it. And you construct buildings and wonders, and you fight or work alongside other civilizations to either a military victory, whereby you defeat all your enemies, a diplomatic victory where you're kind of held up as the greatest civilization, or a kind of space one. There's various different ways, and this works great. Let me be clear about this. This works great in Civilization 4. It works, just about in Call to Power. I didn't really like that game very much, but it was okay. It's better than this one. And it works alright in Alpha Centauri. And that game, it looks pretty terrible right now. But I've played those games, so anyone who's finding the idea of me calling this supposedly classic game anything other than classic and is about to write something terrible on their keyboard in fury, I do know what I'm talking about. I've played, I've lost count of how many hours I played this as both a kid and now, as an adult. And I just couldn't get into it because for me it was very difficult. The AI it has stupid, what I call Total War AI, which is basically just, people just attacking you for no good reason, which is irritating when you're playing it. And, yeah, to me this is an unrealized gem. It took them up to the fourth one to really make a good one, I feel. The other thing is, and I don't normally criticize games for the graphics, but I thought this game just looked like a piece of shit. I mean, it was just horrible. I mean, I've played GTA London and I like that one. So you might wonder why I like this. I mean, I liked the art style of Dune. I liked there's absolutely loads of games I'm not even going to go into. But this one, I don't know, it just looked really ugly, and I don't know why that is, and it's put me off ever since. So anyway, here's the city screen. You can basically rename your towns, cities, you build buildings, you create units, all that sort of stuff. If you don't build some good defensive units within the first few turns, then your enemies are all going to start turning on you quite predictably and annoyingly, and you're going to be like, well, what was that? What did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong, they just like to attack you, and that's kind of frustrating and annoying. It's kind of like in Total War, if you ever played sort of Medieval 2 Total War, you'll be playing as Russia up on the northeast end of the map, and you'll have the Moors from the south of Spain or the north of Africa just sail around and blockade your port for a turn and just start attacking you, and you're like, there's really no need for that sort of AI. Obviously somewhere along the line something went wrong. Now, as you can see, there's you might be able to see the research and all that is quite good. It shows you what it's going to bring about and everything. So as I said before, the system is fine. The AI, the look of the game, the graphics and all that, the sound isn't much to speak of either. Is just, I feel it's appalling, and the fact that it's got such a good rep It is very much seen as a classic game. I can't understand it for the life of me. Now, as I said, I may not be the best player in the world, but I've played a lot of the other versions of this game in their very various incarnations. So it's not like I don't know how to play the game, but I just found this one a lot more difficult and unenjoyable, as I said. It's kind of like when you had those games in Settlers 3 or Settlers 4, as one of my reviews is like, and you spend half an hour well, in Settlers 3 it's more like 45 minutes or so setting up a base, only to have your competitors walk in and just destroy the whole thing. So you're like, okay, let's just, I know they're going to act annoyingly, so I'll build a whole load of units, but then your cities can't support them, and you fall behind anyway. I felt like it was a vicious cycle, and it was just punishing gameplay. And the amount of hours, as I said, because I had a brother who loved this game, so I was constantly under pressure to kind of, like, you know, play it with him and sort of, but I never saw what the big deal was with it. I really couldn't, and that is why I very much look back quite bitterly at this game, because, you know, the amount of hours I put in, I could never find out what was enjoyable about this game. I know that's different for other people, but, you know, whatever. I just thought it just looked incredibly ugly. The gameplay was all right. The movement of the units and stuff, you know, as I said, they had the system worked out. It was just the fact that they would just attack you and no good reason. I mean, let's take Civilization 4 for instance. I'm not going to review that here, but Civilization 4, you know, they start asking for techs, and then they start asking for other things, and then they, you know, start asking for votes in various elections and stuff. So you get an idea when they're starting to become more hostile towards you, so you know to prepare for war and stuff like that. You know, I still don't think they've got the system right down to a T, like a sort of relations system which is good, and that you can work out why people don't like you, other than the fact that, well, you know, you've got to make some sort of challenge in the game. But I just think, at least in that game, you could kind of tell when they were, you know, relations with you were getting icy for various reasons. In this game, it would just be like, you know, I had the purples above me, I think it was like the Persians or something, just kind of like walked into one of my cities, and I'm just like, you know, this isn't fun. I spent the last, you know, 20 minutes building this thing up, to, you know, constructing whatever, only for your guys to walk in. And okay, you might say, well, that's warfare and stuff. Come on, like, as if Saddam Hussein didn't know, you know, didn't have time to prepare for the 2003 Iraq War. You know, these things. It's not like like some sort of 6-day war or something like that. Generally speaking, there should be some kind of form of intelligence that you know that there's going to be an attack imminent, rather than just, you know, have like this AI just suddenly turn on you like that. It's irritating as a player to play a game like that, and I can't stand games that kind of just, it's kind of like punishing you for no good reason. You don't know why suddenly things have gone shit, but they just kind of have. So that's what I call the sort of Total War gameplay. Otherwise, to this game, I really don't have very much else to say. As I said, the gameplay for me was terrible. It was difficult and it was annoying, and it just, I didn't want to play. I could never seem to get past the first sort of bit, because, you know, I'd have all these constant battles with people, and it's just, I was spending all my time building these units rather than, you know, trying to build up my civilization. I like to, you know, create rather than just kind of like toss out a whole bunch of units and then start doing it. And taking cities required like a numerical advantage, which was just in the early part of the game almost impossible to get. You know, and then like contrast this with Civilization 4 that I've played, and I've completed so many different campaigns for that. So many different maps, and it's the same system. You can pick whatever nation you want, but it's just so much more fun. So in the end, I'm going to give this a below average score, average being 5. I'm going to give this 4, and for all those people who enjoyed it, well, you can still enjoy it, but this isn't a bad game, it was just an unenjoyable game, and that's me.